But I can be honest with you guys, and I like that. I'm very honest with her too, my girlfriend. I'm 100% honest with her, like 95% of the time. I say that because like we've all have you ever looked at boobs on the internet? Yeah, thank you so much. We all do. A lot of guys do. But we feel the need to lie to it about it, right? Like if she asks me about my day, like what'd you do today? I'm going to leave that shit out. I'm not going to be like, I looked at 2 boobs and they were better than yours. No, I'm not going to do that. You stupid? But one time we were watching the Kim Kardashian sex tape, but it was not the sex tape. It was the 3 ladies reacting to the sex tape. Have you seen that? Old ladies reacting to it's so funny, dude. It's so funny. But the problem was we were laughing about it. At the end of it, she looks at me and she's like, let's look up the real sex tape. And I was like, all right, sure. And she goes, look it up on your computer. And then I had to pretend like I didn't know the avenue to look up porn on my computer. I had to just be like, I think you got to pay for it. I think that's the way that works. I think you have to go to like Google or maybe Bing. Let's try Bing. And then I Googled it like a dumbass. I Googled Kim Kardashian sex tape, which Google finished the most of that for me. Hit the enter button, and then guess what popped up in big old purple letters? Yeah. Y'all know what purple letters means? Purple letters means, dude, you've been here before. Welcome back. Try and prove this one wrong. You guys have been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Everybody loves to laugh. We consume comedy every day, but we rarely stop to think about the people who work hard to make us laugh. Comedians within the industry have come forward to shed light on the process of writing and performing jokes, providing new perspectives behind comedy.
Comedy is the easiest thing in the world once you figure it out. Comedy, and this is me paraphrasing it, he goes, comedy is just saying something people already know in a way they haven't heard it. So that could be equated to something as small as, instead of calling it a bank, calling it a money prison. That's so much funnier than calling it a bank because it's a way you never thought of calling it. But then you can also look at it in a more broad aspect. You can say, okay, I'm going to tell people a story from a perspective they've never heard from, but the story's going to relate enough that they're going to go, oh, I get that too. That's what everyone does, man. Half the people in every comedy club want to go, me too, me too. Like, they want to have that relation to someone else, and yeah.
There's a statistic out there that says smart people are more inclined to do hard drugs than dumb people. Which, yeah, makes sense, right? Because dumb people are already happy. They're already fine. They don't need to fuck with their brain, right? They don't need to expand their mind. It's already at capacity. Like, what's left to expand upon? You know what I mean? Like, a smart person doing acid is the same thing as a dumb person just drinking a Budweiser on a tire swing. It's the same fucking thing.
From thought emerges the birth of a joke. And from that thought, a comedian must create material that can eventually be performed.
Everyone has their own style. Some people don't write anything. Some people, it's just all in their head. They'll be riffing about something and they'll be like, I'm going to say this. And some people, they just have notebooks upon notebooks of just all this mechanical structure of just written down stuff with little bullet points. With me, I am more of like, I'll think of something in my head or I'll experience something and then I'll kind of talk about it with other people, and if I can get like a laugh just like in real life, just like talking about it, then I'll just create it, like I'll go on stage and say it and try to make it funny in some way.
The way I write it's somewhat structured. For example, when I write every day, regardless. I removed the element of time from my writing a few months back, and it's been nothing but great for me, because whenever you used to study or whatever it was, whenever you look at a thing and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this for an hour, all you end up doing is looking at the clock and just waiting for that hour to be up so you can be done with it. So what I do is I write a certain amount of pages every day, and I try and make that goal. Okay, I'm gonna write 4 pages today. I'm gonna write 3 pages today of material. Sometimes it'll take me more than an hour. Sometimes I'll write 8 pages and it'll be 3 hours into it, but I don't stop myself. But the mindset I usually am in, I go to a diner. That's my favorite place because it's unlimited coffee. And after a while, your server gets to know that you don't want to be talked to, and so she'll just come pour, and then that's it. So it's kind of a great thing, because Starbucks, you pay $2, and then you're done, and then you can't, it's not free anymore. But then, yeah, for the most part, my process is I think about stuff, plant them as a seed, and then when I'm ready to actually kind of put them into longer set words and actually figure out where it would be placed and stuff, I sit down and I write that out. I don't look good, though, man. I look like shit in the morning. Like 2 hours every day, I'm like, what the fuck is that? My face inflates. It looks weird. Like every morning, it looks like I got stung by a bunch of bees. I fell asleep on Braille, and then someone was like, wake up! And that's what it looked like. I don't know what it is.
I think that's what's so funny about humor is that it's always spur of the moment. It's always like, I feel like when like, in the moment when something's funny, I don't feel like you're stopping and being like, that's funny, and then you laugh. You always are just laughing. And that was kind of like when I first started doing stand-up. You don't, like like a lot of comics will have that when they first start, they don't know how to translate it on stage. Like, but they know why they think certain things are funny, you know?
I stop and think about why things are funny a lot, and it's actually, I have to actively stop doing that. Because when I think about, let's say when I think about something and I laugh at it, it's very stupid to me. I now will just write it down and say, that was funny to me. That was a gut reaction I had. Now, try and write it out, try and add to it. And that can sometimes destroy it for me, is when I'm like trying to harness it and trying to, monetize it kind of. Like, oh, I'm gonna make this into a bit. Sometimes you just have to laugh at it. And that's one thing that sucks about anything. You ever heard about like when you work for a pizza place, you don't like pizza anymore. When you start doing comedy, it's not that you don't like jokes, it's that you have a higher expectation of what is funny to yourself. And it takes a lot more for me to laugh out of my gut than it used to.
Techniques in comedy performance vary. Some comedians abandon their personality and take on a new character, while others are more comfortable performing as themselves.
More recently, I have been trying to be more myself on stage. The first few years of comedy, you kind of try and mimic someone that you might like. For example, a lot of people would do, Pete Holmes admits to this, and I'd admit to it, is that I tried doing a Brian Regan. There's a lot of comics you would have seen probably 5 years ago that were doing a Dane Cook. And that's because you try and emulate what you think is comedy, and so you just do that. And the problem with that is that you're not getting the real person. So what happens is you'll see someone start getting better and better and better and start moving away from that person's voice and into their own voice. And that's another big thing, is finding your own voice in comedy is one of the hardest things to do, and it can take 10, 20 years.
A lot of people who will do jokes, every comic like you'll see, it's usually like an amplified version of themselves. Like it's something that, like a characteristic about them, but then it's just exaggerated into like a cartoonish way. Like whereas like I'm a loud guy, like I can be loud, but when I'm on stage, it's like turned up. Like I'm like, hey, like like I'm not always like my persona on stage is different, but it's in a way it's something. It's like a part of me.
The worst gift, well, I'm going to let you think on that, I'll ask you after. The worst gift I ever got was in 7th grade for Hanukkah. My dad bought me a yarmulke that was designed to look like a basketball. Now, the reason he got me this was because as a young Jew, I refused to wear a yarmulke, okay? But I was fucking dope at basketball. I was so good at basketball. So my dad had the strategy then to get me a yarmulke designed to look like my favorite sport, a sport I was good at, a sport I loved, and I would wear it. And I was like, Dad, I'm not wearing that fucking basketball yarmulke. And he's like, what, are you embarrassed to be Jewish? And I tried to tell my dad, I didn't care if anyone knew I was Jewish. I wasn't offended about people knowing my faith. I just thought the yarmulke as the hat was the most uncool hat you could ever wear as a 7th grader. It had no brim on it that you cocked to the side. No room in that shit to put a 5950 sticker, make it look fresh. It's a fucking awful hat. This guy knows what I'm talking about. And no matter how many times I told my dad that, he still fought me on it. His main thing was, son, think about it, okay? Basketball yarmulke? You're gonna look good in front of the guys. I'll tell you who the guys were, okay? Every Saturday I go to my local park district and I play basketball with these 30-year-old black men. And sometimes they need an extra player if someone got injured. They let me come out and play, and I'd get the shit kicked out of me. He thought now I was gonna walk in the court wearing my basketball yarmulke. And these dudes were all gonna stop playing, ball was gonna bounce away, and one was gonna be like, yo, Marcus! The Jew is on my team!
Sometimes comedy can be a burden in that you're always looking for the funny and stuff. Kind of like a health inspector would go into anywhere and say, oh, this is what's wrong. And it's kind of in their head. Even though when they don't repeat it, that's what they do. So whenever I hear a joke or whenever I find something funny, I try and put it and quantify it into a bit maybe, and say, hey, I want to make this funny. How do I do that? And then the next thing you know, it's not funny to me anymore, and I'm done with it. And that's what happens to a lot of things is I kind of drill it until it's not funny. And that's what also separates the things that I like versus the things that I don't is if I talk about it enough and I still enjoy it, I'm like, this is a good one. When it's not fun for me to write out, I stop doing it.